Happy Wednesday, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. It's that time of week again. It's time for the Latinay connection. And I'm super excited today because I have a dear friend of mine, someone who I met when I was in the book writing program, and we're going to be talking about her book, Unstoppable. You may have seen me post about it earlier this week. This is a platform where we're really celebrating the Latinx community's contributions and achievements. I feel like sometimes we're underrepresented. We don't get as much, not everybody gets to see what we're doing. And so this is a place where, we're really putting a spotlight on different individuals from various backgrounds in diverse, in a number of diverse ways. And we're sharing information and insights and guidance, resources, inspiration. And at the heart of it all is the belief that through sharing stories, sharing knowledge, and fostering community, we can break through barriers and build more connection. So it's more than just a show, but it's really a space where everyone's story is heard. And more importantly, their story is also celebrated. So thank you for being here today. If you're listening in, feel free to drop in the chat where you're listening in from. And I'm excited because I have Nyrka here with me. And as I mentioned, Nyrka just recently came out with a book. I'm excited to dive in more on the process, on the book itself, talk about personal branding and just getting to know you more. So without further ado, feel free to drop in the chat where you're listening in from. Here we have Javier. Hi, Ruby. Can't wait to listen to the talk. Yay. We're so excited you're here. And Nyrka, tell us a little more about yourself. You just came out with this great book. You are a 3-time entrepreneur. You're a coach, image consultant, and now author. And tell us a little more about who you are, your cultural background, and what has brought you to here today.
Wow, do I have 10 hours? I can start by saying, woo, chilly Miami. I lived in Miami too, by the way. Orlando, I'm in Lakeland, so we're close. I am from Puerto Rico. I was born in Puerto Rico a long time ago. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I am an island girl. I had big dreams for myself, and that's really how the book starts. I wanted more. I wanted many things, and I was ready. And so I wanted to find a way to stand out and get to my goals. And so really that's the book. I really teach you how to get to your goals, how to create opportunities, how to craft your brand. And how did I get here? I'll say that I got my dream job. I transferred from Puerto Rico to Miami. That's why I lived in Miami. I did a lot of accounting. I worked for international accounting firms. And then after that, I went into creating a couple of companies. I started 2 companies before my coaching business. It was all special events. I'm very creative. I loved it. I also worked for 10 years in higher education. So I love teaching people, especially in business and leadership. And finally, again, it's all in the book. I decided to start a coaching and training business. And that's what I've been doing the last 5 years. And I absolutely love it. It is my dream job right now because goals change. And yes, I wrote the book.
Yes, and it's beautiful. What inspired you to really write it? Because I think there's a lot of people that have the idea of writing a book, but to really go through the process is an entirely different journey, right? So what inspired you to take that big leap? And
Thank you for asking. Yes, we met in the writers program, right? So I think I never thought I would write a book, by the way. I thought that was for other people that like to write and want to print something. I did not imagine anything like that. But during a specific year, a few years ago, 5 people told me, have you ever thought about writing a book? I think you should write a book. Don't you think you need to write a book? And I was starting to think that it was like a sign or something. I kept writing it down and putting a date on it. Finally, I started realizing that I had this framework that I created with my executive coaching clients, and it kept working. So my idea was like, well, since people are telling me to write a book, why don't I just write it on that? Because, part of the program was to figure out what was the main idea. What is this big idea you're going to write about? And I felt like, well, maybe I can write it about that, about how to reach your goals, how my clients make it. That's why I interviewed people that were successful with the program, with the framework. really what the book is about. That's really what got me started in the process.
Yeah. And how do you think, from your own experience, how do you think that building a brand has supported you in your career trajectory?
You know, I started the book saying that there were 5 times in my life where I had to create a new brand. And so this happens because every time you have a goal, your brand changes. And I thought that was really important to really pinpoint the fact that a personal brand is who you are, where you're going, where you came from. So it's really about you and your story. And I think it's really important because you have to be authentic with everyone that you meet. You have to talk about yourself and what you've been doing and where you're going, but also you have to build trust. And I found that the more authentic you are, the more you show people your brand, the more trust you build, and then people start following you as a result because they're either attracted to your brand or they think, they know what they're getting. For example, if they see you, Ruby, today talking to me and you talk to another person the same way next week, they're like, okay, I know how Ruby is. She's professional. She attracts people that are professional. I want to be in that environment. If I ask her to be my podcast, she will be professional. And so what you're doing, that's a brand. So what you're doing is showing people that I'm showing up in this way. And it has to do with image, and it has to do with your skill and ability, and it also has to do with your goal. But you're showing people that you're showing up in the same way every single time they meet you. That's a good brand. If you can close your eyes and imagine somebody and you can see them, then you have a good brand. And my goal is that every time you see me, I show up the same way. If that makes sense.
Definitely. And something that you said really struck me, and it was actually one of the questions I had for you was just about, and this might be jumping a little bit ahead, but I'm going to go ahead and go for it anyways. And partially completely selfish, by the way, for my own reasons, because one of the things that you said is when you have different goals, sometimes that changes. And, I've been in the leadership space for the last decade, also myself coaching and doing transformational work. And now I'm about to start school and kind of head down this road. For those of you that you don't know, I will be going back to grad school to get my master's of education. I'm going to be studying educational innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship at UNC this starting in January.
Yes,
And I've been thinking, thank you. And I've been thinking about my own brand because I've kind of have developed a brand, but now I feel like I'm shifting gears a little bit, right? And so I've already started to think about like, well, what's this going to look like, or what's this iteration look like? What kind of advice do you have when it comes to people managing their brand when they're in a state of transition or they're evolving? And I love that you focus on it because hopefully we're always growing, we're always evolving, and that means that our brand grows and evolves with us, right?
100%. The brand should change every year. Every year you acquire new skills. Every year you have new goals. So your brand is just like a resume or your LinkedIn profile. It's no different. Your brand will change and adapt and evolve as you evolve as a person. I will give you an example. I have a few executive coaching clients, like I had mentioned before. And for example, somebody reached out to me last year and they wanted to work at a different level, right? Get promoted, do something different. And so we start looking at the brand and we start looking specifically at strategic chart that I have in the book. We start looking at their goal and then how that brand can take them to their goal. And then we pinpoint certain strategies. So you, for example, you're going to college and again, right? So your brand is a little different because now all of a sudden you're a student. And so if you're going to do that, then you have to look at yourself. It's like, well, what am I going to get out of this program? Do I want to keep expanding my business? Do I want to go and teach at a college level? So with that goal in mind, then you have to figure out, how do I dress for the part? Which connections do I have to make? How do I want to say my elevator pitch when I'm in a room? If I meet students, what do I want to tell them? Do I want to say I'm a student, or do I want to say that I'm a leadership coach? And so again, it all is supposed to tie in to your end goal. And so going back to the client story, what I looked at was, where do you want to be? Well, I want to get promoted. I said, okay, if you want to get promoted and be a leader in your department, for example, then you need to stop what you're doing and speak up and say, how can I get there? And then show leadership ability and show how you can get to that second level. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, nothing is going to change. Makes
Yes.
sense. So if you want something different, then you have to change the week. Like, what are you going to do about it? That's why I talk about innovation.
Yes, and I was actually just about to share that because one of the quotes I think I wrote it down here was, um, oh, you talk about innovation is the key to standing out. And in the book, you mentioned a couple of different examples of how you innovated. And that's one of the reasons why I really love this book is because it is about creating your own opportunities. You are not waiting to be tapped. You
Mhm.
are not
You should
waiting
not.
to be
Never.
benched. Yeah, but you are generating your own opportunities. And so that really puts you in the driver's seat of of not only just your career, but really your life. And so, what is the role of innovation, do you think, for individuals when it comes to personal branding?
Yes. So again, if I want to get that dream job, which is really the main story, the first story of the book, I'm in college. I have a similar GPA as everybody else. How am I going to stand out among 300, 400 people that want only 4 jobs that Puerto Rico, that island, was offering that year? You have to think in an innovative way. How do I stand out? So somehow I created a newsletter. I went to the Accounting Students Association. I ended up being the president. And finally, I planned the job fair. And finally, I got the job. So it all started because I created my own opportunity. I started brainstorming and thinking, how can I stand out? And I have done this in different positions, right? In different jobs, in different careers. Because again, if you are just part of the bunch and doing what you're told and doing what is expected of you, you're really not going to stand out. And the truth is, they want people that are, they as in like higher levels of leadership. They want people that can show the same level of leadership, or they want people that they can trust and give them a whole team of people to manage, or they want people that speak up, right? So I start basically by telling my clients, have you spoken up? Have you said what you wanted from this position? They're like, no, but they know it. I'm like, how do they know it? And sometimes we do some sort of feedback. We get feedback, like a 3-way feedback, and people come back saying, we didn't know you felt this way. We didn't know you wanted more opportunities. So again, you have to find ways to stand out within, even in the current position that you're in. You could say, I want to lead the next meeting. I want to write a newsletter for our department, so you can highlight your projects. And it's not bragging, it's really telling people all the great things that you've been doing. You can say, I have an innovative idea. Can I have 5 minutes in the next team meeting? Again, all these things are done. And or you can say, can you please send me to a training out of town because I need this skill set? Yes, you do have to ask and speak up, but that's what leaders do. They want to stand out. They create opportunities for themselves. They don't sit there and wait for somebody else to, yeah, sure, you can keep your head down and keep doing what you need to do, but that's just not going to take you too far. That's the truth.
Yeah. And you hit on something that I think is so relevant to our audience and to our community with kind of keeping your head down. I know I was taught, the advice that I got from my mom when it came to the workplace was work
Mhm.
hard, be humble, and keep your head down. And that was literally like the
Same.
advice that I got. And I'll be honest, in my early career, it probably did work, because I was very ambitious and driven and, over excelled. And so that did give me opportunities. But at some point, that ended up kind of flatlining. And I found I was being overlooked or maybe not valued the way I wanted to be valued. And I couldn't understand why when other people were getting opportunities and sometimes they weren't even as qualified. And I couldn't understand why. So two things. One is, what would you say to someone who feels hesitant? And I see this mostly with the mujeres,
Women, mujeres.
yeah, with the women who
Absolutely.
feel very resistant in sharing their accomplishments because they don't want to be seen as being boastful or bragging.
Right.
So that was my first question.
Sure. So I currently, teach my clients, or in any workshop that I'm teaching, you have to speak up and you have to talk about the great things that you're doing, not to brag, but to really inform people of the great things that you're doing. And you should be proud because it takes a lot of skill and effort and hard work to get to where you are. So yes, we should be talking about the things we want to talk about. And that's part of branding yourself, right? It's not selling a product, it's not selling, it's really just it's putting a post online and saying, wow, look at this accomplishment, and then just sort of also showing other women that are right behind you, looking at you, and you are a role model. I mean, at my book launch, I had many teenager girls from a soccer team. I want them to see that they can also write a book, that they can also reach their dreams. But yes, you will most likely do that by speaking up for yourself. I mean, in every position that I've been, I've said, I am ready for this position, and I'm going to tell you why. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I don't wait to get promoted, but I sort of have a plan. I'm like, okay, well, in the past, because now I'm a boss, but I would say, this is where I want to be. I'm going to do this, this, and this. What do you think next year when we sit down again? Am I going to meet that goal? And if I do, will you give me the position? So that's the kind of conversation that is proactive that I would have a year before. And then a year later, I'm like, look, I did what you wanted me to do and more. I'm ready. Let's go. So yes, that's not how I was raised. I should probably be home baking, and which is fine, but I always wanted more. And so I think if you want more, you need to speak for yourself and tell everyone the great things that you're doing, and show your daughters and your sons that anyone can do this, that you can do it on your own, that you don't need anybody. You can really get to it on your own. So
Yeah. And you remind me, I actually, I'm horrible because I write in books and I, put little notes. And there's a part in here that I just kind of want to, I'm going to read just one of these things here where you're talking about confidence and
yes.
bravery to help you push you through. And I just want to read this because I think this is very, very relevant. Um, it says, I decided to do some research specifically in terms of the relationship between confidence and performance. I have noticed when my clients take risk and feel brave enough to pursue their goals, they're more likely to reach them. Psychologists Zachary Estes and Sydney Felker conducted experiments to see whether confidence impacts performance. And what I found was intriguing. People who tell themselves they are not going to be able to perform well are most likely not able to. But when the same group of underperformers were told they were likely to solve a problem in the study, they performed just as well as the other groups in the study.
That's
This
right.
means that even if we initially lack confidence, we can usually perform at least as well as anyone else, especially when we tell ourselves that we're capable.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how do you develop that type of confidence? Because again, I feel like this is maybe a challenge that some individuals will come across.
Yeah, so I think you surround yourself with amazing people, mentors, a coach, a good friend that can push you, that really believes in you. I'll give an example. When I wanted to start this business, I wasn't sure I wanted to be another coach. It just sounded to me that there were so many in town, everywhere. Nobody wants another coach. And I remember thinking, well, they're older. They're probably wiser. They've done it for many years. Why would I even be successful? And I'm questioning myself. And I literally just wrote this book. So just to show you, imposter syndrome and all these things happen to everybody, right? So I'm saying this to a friend who's also a coach. And she said, what are you worried about? You already have the skill set. And I look at her in the eye and I said, you're right. And she said, the only difference between you and the next person is that they took the risk. So why don't you go ahead and take it? And I was just like, so she's telling me that they jumped the bridge, and that's the only difference between me and the next person. So I can jump too. So why not take the risk? And so I had to, again, hear it from somebody else, because the doing was so apart from what I was doing and different. And so again, what I'm saying is you have to surround yourself with a supportive group of people, whether again, it's a best friend, a mentor, hire a coach, because the truth is most of my clients have the ability. They're mostly women, I will admit, because again, it's all about confidence. They have the ability, they have the skill, they're incredibly smart. They're executives. They're amazing. And sometimes they're like, well, I don't know how, right? And all I do is this, literally. I tap them, just to push them a little bit, and off they go. And not only do they jump, but I had one client who got promoted twice in 6 months, because all she needed to do was to show the CEO, this is all I do, this is what I've done, I have raised so much income, I worked so hard, I worked 2 jobs, and she got 2 promotions because she just spoke up. Yeah. Just like any other man would do, right? And let's just say this, because I think I have found that most women are raised not to speak up for themselves, or perhaps not in the moment, or wait for the right time, or be polite. And I'm thinking, and I think about this quite often, I'm just going to go for it. Because if it was my husband, he would just do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And that's it. And you'll be surprised about all the doors I open by you just being bold and brave. And it's scary. Listen, it's scary. You're sweating everywhere. Like, it's not easy to do sometimes, but it's just so, this is life though. You got to like live it and go for it. And if it doesn't work, like my dad said, at least you tried.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that courage and confidence is so intertwined, because I get
Yeah.
asked the same question about like, how do you build confidence? And you have to have courage in order to you take those risks. Like you said, I love what you said. The only difference between you and the other person is that they took the risk, right? And
That's it.
so, what if there's nothing you walk away with today, folks? It's take the risk. There's a couple questions in the chat that I want
Yay,
to
I have
bring up. So
questions.
feel free to ask, and I have questions, but
Okay.
if there's questions from the audience, bring those up. You can drop them in the comments, and I'll pull it up. One of the questions is, what about when you leave an organization and you're trying to brand yourself for leadership in another role? What advice would you give to someone who's trying to leave and wants to brand themselves for another role?
If you're leaving that organization, you're going to another organization, right? And you want to brand yourself in a leadership way. Listen, I am who I am anywhere I go. I bring my leadership skill set. I know where I'm going. Yes, that's right. So really, I would look at what I've done in the last few years, what I'm really good at. I mean, that is personal branding. I have assessments in the book, but really we look at, what is your story? What are you really good at? What is your expertise? Everyone is really good at something. They're good at writers, creators, math, whatever, statistics, whatever it is, you're really good at something. So you have to really talk about that and prove it, almost like in your elevator pitch. You have to say, well, I'm really good at this because I've done this, this, and this. You have to always give some evidence so that it makes it like it's not just your opinion. No, I have proven, and I'll show you how I've done it. So you can carry, even if you're changing industries, it doesn't matter, because I've been in education, in accounting, now in coaching. It doesn't really matter. Your story is still the same, and your ability level is amazing everywhere you go. And you're obviously every year your skills increase, but that is your brand. You have to define, how do you want to see yourself this year? If I'm going to go to an interview and everyone is wearing a suit, you will probably have to wear a suit. Otherwise, you have to find out where you're going, and that's how you sort of shape your brand. And again, I have a really cool 3-question assessment, and then you can also send it to other people, and then you get feedback from them to see if what you're portraying out there is the same. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. And there's a lot of exercises. I just want to point this out. If you can see here, there's a lot of exercises in the book too that you can use. And different charts. And so there's a lot of this that is very practical to use as you build your brand. And I will just say, by the way, I even kept this because when I got your book, it also came, it was so on brand, right? Because it came in the, let's see if you can see that.
Envelope is branded.
Yes. Everything was branded.
Yes.
It was perfect. I love that. I was like, when I eventually finish writing my book, I will also do the same thing. So you inspired me there. Another question that comes from Jessica. I relate with the feeling I'm bragging or trying too hard around my peers. How can students overcome this feeling?
Yeah, so I think it has to do with confidence. I think when you know who you are and where you're going, you can talk the talk. I think that we might be just really polite. We don't want to hurt people's feelings or make them feel uncomfortable. However, if they do feel hurt or uncomfortable, it's on them. It's not on us. So perhaps they're insecure, perhaps they're not there yet. I have a lot of people that call me and say, I want to be just like you. I love your brand. I'm going to hire you, and that's what I want. And the first thing I say, it's like, it's not about me, it's about you. You have to own it. Like, who are you? Like, tell me who you are. I love it when people say how authentic they are, when they tell me their story. That really says something. So yeah, I think the more you talk about it, and you don't have to go into full details, you have to say it with a smile. and very approachable. You can say a story. So it's really not bragging or trying too hard. Perhaps other people are not confident enough to handle somebody like you, because you will attract people that support you, right? All others that feel uncomfortable, well, maybe they don't need to be around you. It's true. I mean, really, I think it's okay to talk about accomplishments if you're saying them in a good tone, you smile, and then you ask them about them. Also, not just talking about yourself the whole time, but say, well, how about you? Tell me more about you, right? Because then now it's an exchange and it's not just one way. I hope that helps.
Definitely. And there's a question for Raquel. And how would you recommend finding a mentor?
That's a great question. I have a few mentors from the past. I worked once for one of them. She was really high up at PwC, which is an international accounting firm. We become friends, and she's a mentor. I have another one I work with. She was a consultant, a CEO, a leadership coach in the Tampa area, and I asked her to be my mentor. It's people that I admire. If you admire somebody, and again, if you don't know many people, let's say if you're a student, if you're younger, like you haven't been exposed to people that you really that you don't know in person, I would reach out through LinkedIn. I've received emails, or a professor, somebody that you had in school, or somebody that again you look up to, or someone from a community organization, that would work too. Again, I think you can just say, hi, I really admire what you're doing. Will it be okay for us to meet for coffee? And I'm looking for mentorship. Now, sometimes they're really busy and they will tell you, but sometimes they will love to, help you grow. So I have a few mentees myself, but I also have my own mentors. It's really healthy. You need one. Everyone needs one, just like a coach.
Absolutely. And I would include in that with finding a mentor. I know mentorship comes up a lot, but we also need to look for sponsors, especially if you're, working more in the in an arena. If you're not self-employed, basically, you need to find sponsors that will also advocate for you, for those to be at the table, for those other roles, for opportunities, more money, and so forth. So when you're thinking about building your personal board of directors, in addition to finding mentors, also think about who is it that can sponsor you, so they can open the door for other opportunities too. Again, feel free to engage. I'm loving the questions that are coming up. I think there's another one from Myrtle here. What do you do when you consistently hear no about asking folks about carving out those opportunities to gain more skills or show your skills? So you're getting no, you're asking, but the answer is no. What can you do? And I think this comes to your innovation. I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Yes. So thank you, Myrtle. I love this question. I just had this type of client last year. She's doing amazing, but she kept getting no's. We kept going back and asking for opportunities to get promoted, to get her staff help. What really worked was for her to look for leadership opportunities outside of her position, because she wanted to stay within the company. Again, you can keep trying, and at some point, if they keep saying no, 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 maybe it's time to look elsewhere. But she wanted to stay in that position for now, so we didn't want her to stay idle. So what we did was we had her get involved in a professional organization. It's a young leadership in town, and now she's the president this year, actually the chair, and she's doing amazing. So what we're doing is building her resume, showing that she can lead a group of people, that she can run projects, raise money, gain leadership in the community. And so while she's not getting this at work, she is getting it elsewhere, and she's enjoying herself. She's happier. Again, I think that makes her look like an amazing future leader. So that's kind of what we did, because we did go back and try. And sometimes the answer is no, and they don't want. And it's possible that the company does not have the space, the leadership does not have the big picture of growing their employees, because that happens. You can't continue to fight. So at some point, you need to either look elsewhere or look for different opportunities in the community. Hope that works. That's a great question, by the way.
That is a good question.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the answer is no.
My next question for you is around executive presence, because part of your, you have a leadership background. You're also an image consultant. And so I often hear from women who say and again, I also tend to work with more women, so that's why I hear it. But I hear often women say, I was told that I need to have more executive presence by my leader before I can move into another role or be promoted. And it seems like executive presence can sometimes be a little bit subjective at times. And what do individuals need to know or do in order to establish their own executive presence? How is it that they can develop that skill?
So I really enjoy this question very much. There's an article from Harvard Business Review that has a great example for this. And basically, this is based on 3 people that were going to interview for the same position, and they all had the same skill set. They all had the same education, background, experience, but their persona, the way they communicated and the way they dressed was very different. And so what was interesting about the article is that the company ended up picking or choosing the person that had the 3 C's, the cool, calm, and collected, because they felt like if you're not that emotional, if you're more calm and you're present, you're able to handle chaos. And, when things are falling apart, you're not going to lose it yourself. In the case of that company, that's, again, it's subjective. That's what they wanted. They wanted, again, the 3 C's, which, it's not me. I'm a fired up Puerto Rican. So clearly I am not the 3 C's. Okay. However, so executive presence can be seen as the way you deliver and carry a message, but also it could also be seen as image leadership, which is different. It's the way you dress. And again, sometimes, yes, the best dressed person, the one that is able to communicate in front of a room, in front of a team, in a really confident and calm way, is not the smartest person in the room. It's really the person that is really good with people. So executive presence is a lot of things. It's the way you communicate, it's the way you dress. It's also the way you can handle issues without, losing it. So really, I think it depends on the leadership and the company you're working at. So if they're, high stress environment, if it's male dominated, if it's diverse, again, it depends. I would mostly be concerned about how I present myself in that place. I will want to gain trust, people that are confident that I will do a good job, that I will not lose my marbles in a conversation, that I'm representing the company well, because you're a brand. So they also want people that when they go out to Publix, which is our supermarket, or the community, they make them look good. Because let's be honest, it's not about you. It's about you and the company you're representing. So I teach this quite a bit. You have to, yes, care about how you get dressed and go to the gas station, because you are representing something bigger than yourself if you work for a bigger company. Even if I work for myself. So obviously, if I'm teaching image consulting, I'm not going to wear terrible things and look not great when I go buy groceries, because again, I'll see a client, and it happens all the time. I see everybody. And so the reason why we care is it's not we're saying, oh, but that's trying too hard, and who wants to be uptight all the time? No. What I want is to create consistency. Because if you see me, again, and we talked about this at the beginning, if you see me showing up the same way every time you meet with me, then you'll trust me. And you build trust, you gain more clients, you gain respect, you gain followers, and you gain promotions, and you gain opportunities. Again, I can go on and on and on. It can get confusing. If you wear jeans and shorts one day and tomorrow you wear a suit, who are you? Like, are you the one person or the other person? So we don't want to confuse people. We want to stay consistent. Whether you wear business casual or not, you want to keep it the same. That makes sense?
Yeah. And I think you even bring this up in the book because you talk about how you even have your wardrobe divided between kind of, was it like functions, like,
Yes.
like business. And then if you go out, you even have some like clothes that put aside in terms of like, if I'm going to the grocery store, but I don't want to look like, a hat, a mess.
Yes. Thank you, Ruby. This is a great question. So people ask me this all the time. Well, it sounds exhausting. I don't want to get all dolled up to go and get a grocery, whatever. And I said, right. So that's why in my closet, I have a section where I don't even have to think about it. And it will be a decent outfit that I can wear to buy the groceries, because it is important to me to get clients and to look specific in a certain way for my branding and my work. It's the easiest way. You can have I have it. I have my workout section and my suit section and my running groceries and errands.
And what's in your running grocery section? I'm really curious about this. I want to know what it is.
I mean, I think for women it's trickier, right? Because we have more options. For men it's pretty easy. But I have jumpsuits, casual, yoga pants that have like a nicer top maybe, or cotton dresses that I can put tennis shoes on. So it's not like I'm dressed up. It just means that they're like things that I know if I put it on, I'll be decent and it will be okay. And then at home, I wear whatever in the patio and the right here. But when I'm out in contact with potential customers, I am conscientious about it. And that will be the easier way to handle it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I mean, I'm all about keeping it easy. I know at one time I was, I'm a woman, so sometimes you're in between sizes. And so I had taken a new job. This is maybe 6 years ago. I was doing a fellowship. And I just decided to keep it easy. And my wardrobe was like pretty much black and white.
Yeah.
Black, white, gray. And it was very interchangeable. And because mix and match, keep it easy. Always, it's classic. You can't go wrong.
I love that you're saying that, because you don't have to buy a ton go to the shop and the mall and get all these things that are really expensive. No, you can certainly mix and match. You only need a few tops, few pants, few skirts, and you can have outfits galore and accessorize. So I teach people how to do that. And again, it's in line with their brand. You don't just buy to buy, especially the trends, because they go away 6 months later, they're gone. You really don't want to do that. You can budget for things that you need, like key items, and always make sure they mix and match. And then you're fine. People don't even notice. In terms of, they do notice how you get dressed, by the way, because I get this question. I mean, they don't notice the exact top you wore last Tuesday, but they do notice if you're well-dressed or not. Because I've also had people say, oh, you look so uncomfortable. Yeah, I've had people say that to my face. Or, yeah, we don't wear that. You don't wear those outfits here in this town. It's too casual. I said, well, you don't wear it, but guess what? The day you don't wear what you normally wear, people do notice. It's like, oh, I guess it's theirs done. Oh, I see you amped it up. So yes, they do notice. People notice everything. So if you think they don't, they do. And it's important, because if you're seeing clients, you don't want to wear yoga pants to work, right? Which I've also had seen before. And you can't roll out of bed, show up to work, and be expected to be sent to clients. Like, you have to, again, represent your brand and the overall brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this idea from Raquel. Says a capsule wardrobe is online is very helpful, as well as build as you go.
Yes, we build lists and budgets, and that's what we do with the clients.
Yeah, I like that. Playing. So Myrtle has another question here. Playing off the conversation of the 3 C's. I think this is a really good question. What do you feel about code switching in the workplace? Is it beneficial or a detriment?
Code switching. What do you think she means by code switching?
Code switching is, so for example, I would say, because of who our audience is, it's like more of hiding your Latinidad. Like toning it down is one way I would say. Toning it down, repressing parts of yourself, maybe not dressing maybe not dressing in bright colors, but dressing in dark colors. So you're kind of like pulling back in order to fit in.
Okay, so I feel like you always have to be genuine in who you are. So if you do like color, wear the color. Be yourself. Sure, I'm sure, for example, I used to work for CPA firms, and we did have a dress code, but that was back in the 90s. And you had to wear stockings with, the tights with the suit, and it was always dark colors. So every time you will see a pink suit, people will be like, what? Like, there will be one person with pink and everyone is wearing navy and gray, right? So you do stand out, but you're still following the code, and it's still what she wanted to wear was pink. So yes, it was like black, blues, and pink, which actually in Puerto Rico, those were the suit colors that people liked, like the lighter or brighter, like the red was a thing. But in Miami, we had to tone it down. So I think it's really up to you. I wouldn't do anything that I'm not comfortable doing, but I certainly do know how to read the room. And so if a suit is required, I will wear the suit, but perhaps I put my own accessory, I make it colorful, and I make it my own. And you would stand in a great way because the whole point here is to look professional. I doubt, I mean, I don't know if people, HR will call you in because you have too much print. But I mean, I don't know. I think nowadays maybe the rules are more relaxed, but I've seen really tight dress codes where they're like saying cover your tattoos, take off your piercing. Like I've seen tight for various reasons, right? And perhaps is the brand. So again, it depends on the company and the industry that you're in, but I think you should always be yourself if you can, or put your little spin on things, which is kind of what I do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, well, self-expression for me is one of my top values. So it would be very difficult for me to hold back, I think, in many different ways. But, I think when we can show up as when we can show up feeling good, whether that's dressed in a suit or, I love to wear some of the blouses that I get from Mexico with embroidery on them. I'm not wearing one today, but I love those. If that's what makes you feel confident, I feel like that's what you're going to bring, that confidence, because you feel good about yourself, right? So a lot of times it's not even about the clothing itself, but it's about how you're wearing it, right? The energy that you're giving off is so important because
it is so important. I've even, for customer service trainings, I have to teach them how to wake up. You don't always wake up smiling and excited and ready to kill it. Let's just be honest. We're people, and people are achy or sad, or right. But then you can start practicing in the morning, putting post-its, say, good morning, today's a great day, and starting to smile a little bit. And even if it hurts, because, you use a lot of muscles when you smile. But the truth is, it shows on the phone when you're speaking to someone, when you show up. So again, yes, I think clothing, it's more of a something to make you feel good about yourself and cheer up. And sometimes people don't see the point in the outfit. They just wear whatever. I actually think it could change, like you said, your demeanor and your attitude and your confidence, and make you feel, if you get something fitted and you feel good about yourself, of course, it makes you feel like you're ready to conquer the world. So thanks for saying that. It's good.
Melissa says hello from San Antonio. Appreciating these sustainable, authentic tips. Again, if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat and I will bring them up. One of the things that I often hear too is there are individuals that work in industries where they're not able to curate a online brand per se, right? They have, whether it's I think in the aviation world, in some kind of finance, and depending on where you are, some type of financial or insurance prevents you from really, saying too much about yourself online. What kind of advice would you give to those that are in that situation where they're not necessarily able to present online? And I think a lot of are only thinking of personal branding as something we do on social media, but personal branding is also about how we carry ourselves, our interactions with people, and so forth. But how can those type of people develop a personal brand for themselves without using some of these tools that other of us may have access to?
I love this question, and it took me by surprise, because for a second, because I kept thinking, oh, I guess that would mean that online is the main place where we communicate. But I can go back to the 70s, right, where we did not have any of this. And I still figured out a way to stand out and create opportunities for myself. And we did not have Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or anything, right? Like you said, like so it really is everywhere. Every person you touch, you should be conscientious and aware that that's how you're leaving your brand. Just like how people say, what do you want people to say when you leave the room, is exactly what I want you to think about. Every person you touch and talk to matters. Whether you email someone, again, maybe not online, not posted, not on media, but you can be in a company newsletter. You could speak up in a meeting. You can do work for the community and be seen as a leader. You can work as a mom at a school. And so it doesn't matter whether you're putting your online ability or not. It's really about how you carry yourself everywhere you go. So I think there's a way to continue to build your resume, to build your experience and your ability level by seeing your everyday and working on everyday projects, by documenting it. I document everything that I do on purpose. I'm doing it for my high school daughter because I feel like by the time she goes to college, we need to document all these things, whether she was, helping the community by being a volunteer, whether winning a soccer or whatever match, or she's applying to it. So I figured, wow, she's already building a resume of things. And this is not online. These are things that she's doing at school, outside of school, in the community. And all of it shows leadership. And I think this applies to anybody.
No, and I love that you say that for your daughter because she's in, what grade is she in?
She's in 9th grade. She's 14.
Okay, she's a freshman then, right?
Yeah.
And I have a junior in a high school, and I feel like we have this conversation too about, because he's in a pretty good school, and I'm like, everybody here gets straight A's, right? Like, it's not going to need enough just to have the straight A's. Like, how are you going to stand out? How are you going to separate yourselves from everyone else who has straight A's, right? Even though I'm really proud of them. But they're not, even colleges these days are not just looking at your grades. They want to know who you are as a person. And
a well-rounded person, right?
Yes.
So she's very creative. So she had an artistic award. So we put that in there. She built some blankets for Visti, which is an elderly community center. And she gave those during a Christmas time. Let's put that in there. And she's been winning, she's captain of her soccer team. We put that in there. So then now you're showing that you're not only having the grades, but also doing all of these extra things. And none of this is online. It's just going on a piece of paper for the future. And so the same thing applies to everybody. As you keep doing more projects and more interactions with people, keep track of that because it really does show who you are. It's part of your story. And part of our story is to keep branding ourselves in a way that we represent who we are, what we're about, and where we're going, right?
Yeah, document those successes, folks.
Yes, document.
Yes. Let's see, I think maybe there's a question here.
I love it.
Melissa says, yes, you can also stand out as an employee by being involved in professional associations that are outside of your organization. Oh, this is a really, really good tip. Thank you, Melissa. Too many professionals or pros only focus on their current job and don't have outside pros ready to vouch for them in case they lose their job or want to go elsewhere. Getting involved is so helpful to our careers and confidence.
Yeah.
That is such great advice there. And there's so much that you can gain from those professional organizations. There's leadership opportunities there, the exposure, building genuine relationships. And I think that is a big part of personal branding too, is building those genuine relationships. And I know some people get really adverse when they hear of networking. They're like, don't want to network, right? But I always, I hear this a lot actually within our community about, a hesitation to want to network. And it's funny because I think by nature, and this is a little bit of a generalization, but by nature, we tend to be very friendly. But something about like networking can come off, from what I've been told, it can come off as feeling more transactional.
Yes.
And so it's remembering that it's relational. It's really building those meaningful and genuine relationships.
I don't think networking should be the same thing as you meeting someone in a line at a store. It should be, hi, how are you? Wow, this food is great. Thank God it's sunny out because I want to go on a bike ride. What do? Do you like to bike ride? And so if you
I could just imagine standing next to you at Trader Joe's.
Yeah. And next thing you know your life story, because that's how Latinas are. I mean, at least I say everything, and I should probably just say half of what I want to say. I mean, I can talk for hours, really. Ruby and I can do this whole day today. If you all want to do it for the next 8 hours, stay, because we're here for it.
Slumber party.
But really, I think, you have to be very authentic. Again, I cannot even do fake because you will see it on my face. I can't hide anything. So I think I would go in a very natural way. And of course, if you have to throw in your elevator pitch, because that's why you're there, to get a business card back, you can say, hi, I work here. Where do you work? Let me tell you about this project that I just worked on. I loved it. And then you go into a little tangent and you sort of squeeze in while you're there. That's the way I would approach it. I mean, I've even practiced with people what to say by the buffet line. Like, do you like eating chicken? I'm not sure about these chicken dinners. It all tastes the same, and say something funny. Again, look approachable. I think that's what, or other people like to hide and they tell me they look for the people that are having the most fun. Like if they hear laughter and conversation, that's where they go and they start sneaking in there, because then they don't have to try so hard. They can just join and sort of warm up, right? So it really depends on your personality, but I would just go in a very neutral kind of way in terms of networking. But yes, I wanted to say that I've always loved mentoring young girls. I think there's so many girls right now that need so much mentorship. So I've been involved in many boards, and the one I'm at right now is Space Center for Girls, and I'm actually going there this Friday, and I do workshops for them, and I teach them how to do a resume, how to be confident, how to speak up in a group. And to me, that is leadership, but that's something that I love doing. So if you wanted to do something outside of work, you have to find your passion. For me, my passion is to develop young women, because there's so many that have so many needs, and have is so hard. But by the way, I've been getting calls like, how can we get the young men to also get the workshops? But I just, I just feel like I didn't have too many mentors when I grew up, and I didn't have many role models either, because I was in Puerto Rico and I didn't really, I mean, we didn't even have cable TV. So for a while, so I feel like if you can show them that they can do it, that they can also, again, write a book, get a good job, go to college, open a restaurant. I mean, they have so many dreams, these girls. It really fulfills my heart and pushes me to keep doing more. So yes, I love my job and what I do, but I also love giving back to my community. And I think it's just as important.
Absolutely. I think this is a really good question that came up.
Yes.
What advice would you give someone who has lost themselves and are trying to find their identity again?
I love this question.
Me too.
I've had people, I've worked with people that had the same question. I think I start really from the beginning. I start asking questions like, what makes you feel happy? What are your interests? What do you like now, today? Not who you thought you were going to be, not who you were 10 years ago, but what makes you happy today? And sometimes, this is interesting. I had a person that wanted to be a CEO. She felt she could do better than the CEO. Nobody knows anything. She knows it all. By the time we ended the coaching experience, she changed her mind. She wanted something different for herself. Life changes every year, so we don't know how we feel about things. I will start with, who are you today? What are you interested in? What makes you happy? If this place that you're in does not make you happy, then where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in a year or so? And how can we get you there? Like, what strategies? What can you do right now to get you there? Maybe you find that mentor that you needed, right, to keep you on track with the strategies. But you have to be proactive. This is what I will say. You have to be proactive if you want to change. If not, things will stay the same. So you have to find yourself again, have a plan, put some strategies in place. Strategies could be interviewing for other places, taking time off to really think about what you want to do. It could be switching departments because you're really unhappy with what you're doing. Sometimes I've had people not wanting to be managers anymore, going back to working on their own because they're just happier in projects. They don't want to supervise people. I think sometimes people don't understand that moving up doesn't mean happier. Yes, it's more money probably, or more experiences, but you may actually hate it because the stress levels and the work completely changes, and you need to be ready for it. And not everyone is made to be a CEO or a partner, or it's really at another level. So I found that you really have to start from within. Like, look at yourself, see what makes you happy and what you can live with. Like what will make you someone, that will wake up every morning smiling, like we just said, and be like, I know where I'm going today and I am happy with my decisions. But you have to be proactive, because otherwise nothing will change. And change is hard, but it pays off. You have to take the risk. So
Yeah. Yeah,
Hopefully, yeah.
I think that proactive is so key because
Mm.
when we stay in that, being stuck, you'll hear people say it like, I feel stuck. It's because there's no activity going on.
Yeah.
If you don't move, you're just gonna stay in that energy, in that like analysis paralysis.
Mhm.
But when you start moving, when you start taking action, even if it's small action, like what hobbies do you enjoy? Is there a hobby that you used to enjoy that you don't do anymore? A lot of, for example, a lot of women, they maybe lose some of that when they start trying to manage careers and families, and then they're not
Yeah.
prioritizing themselves, and it's all of a sudden like, oh, wait a second, like I don't even know who I am as an
Yeah.
individual anymore.
Thank you for highlighting that, because I have a chapter on wellness, and you have to be well first with yourself before everything else. Otherwise, you can't give what you don't have. You have to fill your cup. You have to look at what is wellness for you. Is it, going for a walk? Is it going on a bike ride? Is it eating better? Is it finding a hobby, like you said? You have to fill your cup first, and then you can serve everybody else. And as women, we always put ourselves in the bottom, right? We always try to be motherly and take care of things, but it's not going to make us better leaders or more efficient. So I really like that wellness piece, because you have to be well in order for your brand to be successful. So thanks for saying that, because after COVID, things have changed, and then it's just they're moving faster in a different way. Not than ever, because it was moving faster before, but then we've all changed. So how do we move forward? How do we look at ourselves every day and figure out what makes us happy today?
Yeah. And that's so important. I'm just joined a new community for entrepreneurs, and I was going through my onboarding just yesterday, as a matter of fact. And someone brought that up, that, you know, even with maybe clients that or organizations that we've worked with in the past, and maybe they weren't ready for us to come in and work with them previously, they
Mhm.
might be ready now, because organizations have changed, individuals have changed. The needs that were I don't even know time anymore. The needs that were like 3 years ago have changed
Mhm.
to what they are now, and people are still very lonely and feeling disconnected. And so there's a lot of opportunity, and it's part of the reason why this platform exists. Um, I know we're almost up at the end of the hour. If you could offer a piece of advice to individuals who are striving for personal and professional success, what would that one piece of advice be?
Oh my God. So never stop reaching for the stars. I think I ended my book saying, this will not be my last dream. And throughout the book, I wanted to win a tennis match. I had a dream and finished the book. And so, yes, I finished the book and I won 5 matches, but then now I want other things.
Yay, that's awesome.
Yay. So just to prove that, don't stop dreaming, keep pushing, advocating for yourself, speak up. That is what will make you unstoppable, which is the name of the book. But also, don't wait for somebody else to give you an opportunity. Create it, create that business. I love entrepreneurship. I think you should always follow your passion. I think you should push and keep pushing and reaching for the stars and not stopping. That's what makes you live. So I will hope that everyone continues to dream, to work on their brand, to refine yourself every year, to grow, because we do change. We have change, and we're continuing to change, and also be a role model for somebody else, because
Yes.
there's so many young people that need you. So thank you, Ruby. This was
Thank
great.
you. Well, if you haven't yet gotten your book, it is on Amazon now, right?
Yes, it
On
is.
Amazon? Okay, so it is on Amazon now. You can purchase it on Amazon. So, buy it's Christmas time. Buy one for yourself, buy one for a friend. Support our Latina authors. We need our voices heard and represented. It's a beautiful book. Again, there's a lot of practical strategies all throughout. So it's not just personal branding in theory, but it's really takes it and how can you apply it to yourself, which is one of the things that I love. And again, it's all about innovation, creating what's going to work for you, and in the terms of what is success for you, what are your goals.
Mhm.
So Nyrka, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and your
Thank
services.
you. Yes, nyrkariskin.com. That's my website. I am on there. I'm on LinkedIn. You know where to find Ruby. Let's connect. Thank you so much, Ruby, for inviting me. Gracias. It's nice to meet you all. Encantada y, I don't know, Felices Pascuas, we say in Puerto Rico. So,
Yes, and so I'm putting your
thank you.
website up there, and
Thank you.
Nyrka is on LinkedIn too. So make sure to reach out to her, Nyrka. It's always such a pleasure talking to you. Since the very first moment we connected, we were like laughing and cracking up, and it was just instantaneous. And I hope that we get to eventually meet in person too.
Me
But thank you
too.
for being here today, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
everyone for joining and all of your questions. Appreciate you, and I hope you have a great week.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.